Welcome to another episode of Basketbros. Start your Sunday evening with us. So before you go and see Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson, come talk with us about the Magic Johnsons and the MJs and the Larry Birds and the Hakeem Olajuwons and all of that. I am your moderator, Denzel Snipes, and we got a pretty loaded show for you guys. Now to get the crew in here. First and foremost, from the other C-Town. Oh, by the way, shout out to Jennifer Matthews Lewis, our usual producer. She's kind of going through it because the Panthers lost again. But I could have told you that they were going to lose because Baker Mayfield is depressed about his Oklahoma Sooners getting ran out of the stadium by the Texas Longhorns yesterday. I could have told y'all he was going to lose, and I could have told y'all Kyler Murray was going to lose. So there. Screw the Sooners. Come on in here, DJ Willie B.
How's it going, Denzel?
Hey, what's up, man? I see you're all clean shaven. You must have had a job interview.
No. I had a scruffy beard going for a few days, and then I was like, yeah, I'm going to look clean shaven for the show.
It seems like whatever everyone starts liking on Will takes it away.
No, I like growing it. It just doesn't look good when it's grown. I'm going to probably test it out further eventually.
Yeah, kind of give it a little bit, a few more weeks to see where you're at.
Face, but it's okay.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all great. Also coming on in here, he resides currently as I mute my television, in Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Quincy, Illinois, which is funny because it's actually closer to Missouri than it is actually Chicago. You see him on Confidential. He's on the Pundit's Pundit, and he's been our basket bro since the beginning of the road. Welcome, your Pundit's Pundit, your dog's favorite pundit. If you have a pet tarantula, he's her favorite pundit, or his, whichever one. Jacob Christner, come on in.
Are you assuming that tarantula's gender?
Yes,
I think they do, or at least they should. Anyway.
No. All I know is tonight, after that perfect performance, I know Jen is out with Matt Rule and enjoying drinks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like he's got to be like a hero right now. Like it's insane. I mean, to have one of the top defenses coming there, but even still, like Baker is horrible. I'm sorry, he's terrible.
Horrible.
He's terrible. That interception, I was like, where were you throwing? Christian McCaffrey is not Yao Ming height. He's not 7'5". Okay. Last I checked, I think he barely cracked 5'9", but whatever. Well, let's get the fourth basket bro in here. You know this man as the owner of the South Florida Tribune. He covers the Miami Marlins. He's had over 40 years of sports journalism. He's captaining the ship. He's the cook. He buys the groceries. He does everything. He puts the garnish on your steak, everything. So come on in here. This is Scott, the Motor City Madmouth, Morgenroth.
Morgenroth, R-O-T.
Roth, my bad. Morgenroth.
You're going to get the wrath of Morgenroth.
Yeah, well, they probably will after what I saw today out in Fort Lauderdale with Inter Miami. I covered soccer today, the other brand of football out in Fort Lauderdale, and it was boring. I know you don't want me cooking if you know what's good for you. So, but other than that, the only thing I do is cook controversy. That's it.
So we'll call you Russ. We'll call you Russ.
And now I do.
That's kind of cool.
I have a little luxury though that I didn't have last Sunday. Light, you can see me. My goodness, we're not on I-20. We're at home.
Oh yeah, that was that last Sunday's version was kind of a Scott on the road type of deal.
Well, that was Scott on the road. That was. But here we have light. And this is Hendrick Motorsports, a hat that I snapped out of nowhere for free when it got tossed my direction with my left hand, proving that I could be somewhat ambidextrous, but don't hold your breath. Glad to be
right.
back.
Awesome. Well, hey, just let everybody know that we are sponsored by the Score No Score app. So you can find same on your Apple App Store and Google Play. Also, you can find us by way of Sideline Sports on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. You're probably watching us right now on, at least one of those, I would like to think. But hey, just so you know, you can also catch us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well. So if you watch us on YouTube, just say, hey, if I go to Twitter and I'm kind of on the run, all right, well, I'll just go ahead and tap into Twitter and see what's going on. Same with Facebook Live, we're kind of everywhere. So let's get started with our first topic, and that is our weekly Basketball legend, center Patrick Ewing. Now, Patrick Ewing was drafted number 1 overall in 1985 by way of Georgetown. He played most of his career with the New York Knicks. He played a little bit for the Seattle Supersonics and then the Orlando Magic. We kind of forgot about them years. But he's currently the head coach of the Georgetown Hoyas men's basketball team. He also served as a Washington Wizards assistant coach, a Houston Rockets assistant coach. I remember when he was there. Same for Orlando Magic, and also your Charlotte Bobcats /Hornets. He was on the staff. So as a player, he's an 11-time NBA All-Star, an All-NBA first team in 1990, a 6-time All-NBA second team, 3-time All-Defensive second team, NBA Rookie of the Year in 86, NBA All-Rookie team in 86, NBA Anniversary team 50th and 75th, New York Knicks number 33 retired. He was Eastern Conference champion in both 1999 and 1994. He was the NCAA champion in 1984. He also won the tournament's Most Outstanding Player Award. He's the National College Player of the Year in 1985. He was a 3-time consensus first team All-American, a 2-time Big East Player of the Year, a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time first team All Big East, second team All Big East, National High School Player of the Year, a McDonald's All-American, 2-time first team Parade All-American, and as a coach, he's a Big East Tournament champion in 2021. He is also in the College Basketball and Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. Patrick Ewing, just digging.
Is that all?
Yeah. It could have been more, but he's not exactly Superman. But
boy, with that intro, you probably thought he was. Where's the Cape, Patrick?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I got a great story for you later on with about him.
Me personally, I think he actually was one of the more intimidating centers before intimidation really was a big thing. Right. Everyone remembers the classic him versus Elijah One meeting in the '94 finals. You talk about an NBA finals where both teams deserve to win. Of course, I'm partial toward the Rockets. This is one of the greatest players never to have won a championship. Yeah. There's one in every sport. If you want to call him the NBA's version of Dan Marino, I'm totally fine with it. Overly accomplished, but never crossed the mountain. But doesn't take away from his greatness and what he meant to the game. So I'll pass it on to DJ Willie V. Your thoughts on Patrick Ewing?
Wow. Patrick Ewing was intimidating for sure. Definitely. He was part of those strong Knicks teams that always played the Bulls and always fought with the Bulls. And the cool thing is, I always forget Patrick Ewing was the one who revolutionized developed the T-shirt under the jersey technique, right, where players are starting to do that nowadays. So, guys, you have Patrick Ewing to thank for that. Also, in 4 years in college, he led Georgetown to title game 3 out of 4 years.
That's nasty.
That's just insane.
Mm-hmm.
He won 3 Big East tournament titles, 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, first-time All-American 3 times. And we also know, besides him being a great player, which he was, part of the biggest draft day controversy of all time, the frozen envelope. But other than that, Patrick Ewing, what a great player. Definitely one of my favorite players in the 90s for sure. Not my favorite center in the 90s, but he would probably be top 5. He'd probably be behind like Shaq, Hakeem, and like a few others. But nonetheless, still one of the most decorated players ever. And like Denzel said, one of the most decorated players ever, never to win a ring.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Swinging it on over to Jacob Christner, and kind of want to lead your take off with a question, like I sometimes do, and that is: outside of running into David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon, what do you think truly held him back from a championship?
Boy, I think his knees got shredded to wheat early. That's first off, pretty early for that size. That's number one. Number two, just there's always missing that one thing. Just that one little. I mean, you remember you got to remember, there's always one something. It's like by the time he ended up getting Starks and Charles Smith and all those guys, his knees were completely gone by that point. And then, see, there's just been a bunch of things. There's another thing that we could. There's also a couple of things that we could also say about Patrick. He came in the right era because if he was in this era now, you got to realize he came in when they won 24 games, and they were 23 and 24 wins after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that, he'd be considered a gigantic bust. He'd be considered a gigantic bust now in this era. If you have 23 and 24 wins, and probably get traded.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's also, in one case, and this is the funniest thing. In one case, he has about 2 or 3 really sweet game winners, and the other case, that layup.
Yep.
So
I do it.
For some odd reason, it's like he was missing something. It's like it was a bad luck, because it's like by the time he got the players necessary, his knees were gone and he couldn't lead it to that thing. But when he was at his very, very best, he had nobody. And then he had nobody. And then, but just imagine if he got Larry Johnson early instead of being in charge.
That would have been the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just imagine if he got Larry Johnson when Larry Johnson's knees were going.
Yeah.
So
that is true.
See, there's just a lot of his issues, just bad luck. Just bad luck and this happens to certain players. Here's the thing. You run it, and then also think about these things. We need to check this. Who was the team that was right behind? You got to remember they did the frozen envelope, if you will. Mm-hmm. But who was the team? They got the worst record, blah, blah, blah. Who was the team right behind them?
Wasn't it Indiana?
Let's see. But that's the question. I'm checking this right now. It's the team that was right behind them for that,
That was that was just as unlucky, essentially. Wasn't Atlanta, was it?
See, I'm trying to check the record. See, that's the big thing. I'm doing the Dom thing and just checking record for a second,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm not gonna go that long on that. But whoever would have gotten on something like that, they didn't have the frozen envelope, and whoever was, if they would have had the less, that team gets Patrick Ewing. But here's the question about that. Could they have built around them? Because this was New York City.
Right.
This was New York City, where you can build anything. You can't exactly build in Indiana. And Atlanta wasn't then. Atlanta was not the city it is now. Atlanta was, they showed Atlanta in those 80s, like on Dukes of Hazzard, and they had like 3 big buildings. It wasn't the same then.
Yeah, it wasn't the same.
No. So it's like the Atlanta now could get Patrick Ewing. The Atlanta then no. And Indiana sure as heck. If Indiana couldn't afford Larry Bird, who would have taken the hometown discount?
Yeah.
They sure as hell couldn't afford Patrick Ewing.
I can agree with that because, in my opinion, sure, Atlanta had Dominique Wilkins, but people really didn't start paying attention to that city until primetime came along.
Yeah. And that's true. It's those are the things, though. It's like there are just some players that fall into that. Dan Marino. You brought up Dan Marino. Same thing. It's like they got themselves running game when it came to Jimmy Johnson. By then, his shoulders were gone.
Yeah, because his only 1,000-yard back was the football version of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1996. Yes. Marino retired 3 years later.
Yeah, and it's like, but I'm just saying, though, it's like his shoulders were completely gone. And then he was also moving slow and everything by the time he got a running game.
True.
So it's like you sometimes in that situation, you are an all-time great, but sometimes you just don't get it all right off the bat.
Yeah, or even at all, you know. Well, swinging over to Scott, your thoughts on Patrick Ewing?
Well, guess what, my friends? I saw him play in the 1982 Final Four in New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was there, and I was actually went there with a friend of mine. We got tickets, and we were up in the nosebleed, but it was still great.
You just turned 60 that time, right? That was your 60th birthday?
Well, kind of. My math is a little off tonight. Watching soccer will do that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, it does. And that'd be another day for another night. Soccer. Oh, goodness. But no, I'll make it through the show and won't make it much later after that. But I saw him play in the 1982 Final Four. And I used to always, when I covered the Pistons, I always sat at courtside. And he would give me a nice nod and smile because I would like to sit behind the visitors' bench. And he was a good guy. Patrick Ewing's only problem was he just played against great competition. There was always somebody in the way to get in front of him to go ahead and win that elusive title is what he ended up doing. Now, I think one of the biggest injustices with Patrick Ewing, though, is when he had long retired. I'm surprised he never got an NBA head coaching job.
Mm.
Well, I got to answer that to you. He's got one with Georgetown now, and it's absolutely hideous. His record is hideous.
Yeah, but all right, I know that, but here's the deal. I get that he's not doing well there, but I'm talking about the NBA. He was more than qualified. He paid his dues under a lot of excellent coaches, and that Georgetown job hasn't been relevant since John Thompson and the other John Thompson.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm not going to sit here and blame that one on Patrick Ewing, but here's a guy who should have gotten a bona fide NBA head coaching job and learned under a lot of people he never did. So I think, obviously his physicality started to go down a little bit, but he just played against those teams is what he did. And that can happen. You could run, you talk about bad luck, okay, playing against great teams. What about Karl Malone? Here's another guy to me where, you run across those Showtime teams or a lot of these Laker teams. Not his fault that they were good. He tried to win a ring with the Lakers, but the Pistons got the best of him.
Mm-hmm.
Than Charles Barkley. So, but to make a long story short, with Patrick Ewing, and I'm telling you, he was incredible in college. In fact, he got more goaltending calls than politicians tell lies. But you couldn't stop him from doing it because what happened if you tried to do that is you don't want to take away the man's aggressiveness. So you tolerate the goaltending calls and compensate it for, again, the aggressiveness and the defense that went along with it. So I just think it was just a tough era for him to compete against all those great players. I really do.
Well, here's another thing that I look at, too, with Patrick Ewing. Just think about this for a second. You could have really watched, even with it, they really overdid his minutes. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing how good he was. How good he was. I mean, remember, how many centers were shooting 18 feet those days? With those kind of moves. They could be able to also go inside, and they also the rebound. Just all kinds of different things he could do. But they really overdid it, and you had Bill Cartwright.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You could have used Cartwright more. Cartwright's a rebounder. Cartwright can block shots. I mean, you could have switched that around, but it's like a lot of coaches do that when they see a star player. But during those losing seasons, they really could have done that. They really could have split minutes and done everything to watch him for when they built it. And then once Cartwright was gone to Chicago, they could have. That's when you could have done that. That's when you could have really played him and got that. Then his knees could have been saved.
Yeah. Well, you talk about if you were to put Ewing in today's game and seeing as his usage rate was high back then, in today's era, they're actually watching their usage rate, unless you're a LeBron or maybe Harden on the Rockets, who's really playing like 48 straight minutes. If you were to put Ewing right now, don't you think that kind of would have made a difference if they salvaged his minutes? He's not going 48 minutes. He's not even going like 45 minutes,
Well, possibly true, but here's another thing that we got to say this too. It's he wouldn't be banging in this era. He wouldn't be banging under the way he does right now, and he'd be able to shoot threes. Because remember, he could go 18 to 19. So all you have to do is step back a couple. And I mean, and he even shot a couple threes toward the end of his career. Mm-hmm. So it's like if this is in this kind of era, he wouldn't be banged up as bad.
No, He wouldn't.
Those
Well,
guys wouldn't be banged up as bad. Come on. I mean, you're not just Ewing, but everybody else is playing wouldn't be banged up because all of a sudden you're playing finesse, patty cake, baker's man basketball. My goodness, man.
Yeah.
that also.
Kind of
You
like
know,
if you're playing Tom Brady and then you try to give him a sack and they give you a
Right.
they give you a penalty.
You know,
that was really frustrating earlier. Yeah, I mean, and not only that, but I think if you were to put him in today's era, considering that he was on the he was on the rugged Knicks team, you know, with Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley, you know, he's used to that rough style, which they really aren't playing in today's pros. So how do you think he really would have fared in?
You're
Because
talking
we're talking
about
two different styles. We're talking about two different styles of basketball.
sometimes you wonder if you'll ever know. Anyways, it's all hype.
well, I think
Well,
a
yeah.
lot of his game also we also have to say if we did it today, there's another thing we have to think about of his game today. What would it be? Because he was mentored by John Thompson.
Right.
Yes.
And it's like, and that is one of the all-time great coaches. And what if he went to Georgetown of now? It would have been these Georgetown coaches.
Mm.
So there's a lot to be said about time frame because his timing may not have been for a career, but it could have. I mean, for a all-time for championships, but it was for the career because remember he's an all-time great.
Yeah, very true. Well, it's a good time to transition over into our next topic. We had kind of a pre-discussion before the show on this one, and that is place any random difference maker on any team, any era. Now, and we were all talking, of course, you know, Jacob came up with the topic and he clarified the parameters behind it. So when I say mine, I hope it's kind of, you know, fits in there, but I had two of them. I would say put Kawhi Leonard with David Robinson. I think having a two-way player would complement him greatly. And if that happens, he leaves with 3 rings instead of 2. Of course, hypothetically speaking. Also, and I mean, Jacob's going to hate this pick, but put James Harden on the 94 Rockets. You know, you got somebody who's a distributor, and he's not the main guy. Elijah One's the main guy. You know, you still have the rest of the
him
team.
in '94. I wouldn't hate him because he'd actually be taking a bang. He'd actually be able to be banged up a little bit. And he actually have to work hard.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that also.
I've never gotten it. I've never banged his skills. I've told you he's one of the greatest ISOs we've ever seen in our life.
Right.
My thing is he's lazy as hell. He wouldn't be. You're not allowed to be lazy in '94.
No, so that's a righteous pick then, you know.
Yes.
But swinging over to Will, who do you have, man?
Actually, didn't have anybody, but now that I think about it, that's tough.
Let's go back.
I would
Here's the
say
thing.
like a Steve Nash on maybe a like Kobe Bryant led team to help distribute the ball better and like get more teammates involved.
So Nash on, say, the 2000 Lakers.
Yes.
Okay, then. Because not Nash, you know, when he went to the Lakers down the way, when, speaking of shredded knees and backs and everything, not that Nash, put like prime Nash on like the 99 or 2000 Lakers.
Because then, don't get me wrong, they had great role players to help Kobe and Shaq, but Nash would be able to distribute more and Kobe wouldn't have to like go up and down the court as much, like someone to distribute the ball more.
Okay, then. All right, and just kind of even things out between two ball dominant.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I got you. Jacob, who do you have?
You're gonna love this one. Muggsy Bogues on the Bulls. Championship years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Replacing BJ Armstrong.
I like it. Go ahead.
There's one thing Jordan had in ad nauseum, and I'm just saying this. Ad nauseum, what he had was shooting guards.
Mm-hmm.
But that distributor, that was Pippen.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine you have that little guy with all that speed, those powerful legs. You know, remember he had one season with 4 rebounds a game at 5'3".
Yeah.
And he blocked Patrick Ewing once.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. His grit. I mean, the kind of grit he had with a Michael Jordan team.
Yeah.
With all that, and with all that kind of stuff, and Michael's distributor, he might have 11 assists a game.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got those, and then I keep saying this, but I said this a few days ago. I'm talking about World Beat 3 on the late '80s Celtics.
Oh yeah.
When they
Artest.
No, World Beat Free. You know who I'm talking about, Scott. Lloyd Free. World Beat Free was his name. He was
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, World Beat. No, he was a shooter with no assists, no anything. But World Beat Free would have been the McAdoo. Like when the Lakers got McAdoo. He would have been the McAdoo of that time. 14 minutes a game, the 16-foot shooter, swish every time. He would have been that guy, especially when they lost age.
Yeah, the ultimate ball hog.
Yeah, well, of course, but I mean, he only works 14, 16 minutes a game, 12 minutes a game. That's my point. He could all the way to the end. He could swish it. He could. You know what I'm saying on that? And it's like, to me, that would have made a huge difference when they lost some of those players.
Okay. All right. And Scott, who you got?
You know what? I got a couple for you. All right, you ready? How would you like to put Magic Johnson with Steph Curry in the Warriors?
Ooh.
And then to make it even more interesting, you got Magic Johnson telling Draymond Green, his fellow Michigan State Spartan, keep your mouth shut. How about that?
He would put him in check. He would put him in check.
Oh, yeah, he would. Magic Johnson telling Draymond Green, zip it, Sparty. This is my show, and that is that. Now that I got you wowing on that one, how about Isaiah Thomas with LeBron James?
Interesting.
Yeah, the reason why is you have an all-natural point guard who knows what to do, step up when he has to do. And, I think me personally, and I work with Isaiah during the bad boy era, so I kind of really know what makes him click, what doesn't. Isaiah wouldn't be afraid to get in anybody's race. He wouldn't be afraid to get in, what's his name? The guy that gets hurt all the time, Anthony Davis. You get in his space. He doesn't matter. Isaiah's the kind of guy, strong personality in the locker room, an all-natural point guard, and one of the best point guards pound for pound at his position. So I would put Isaiah with LeBron and then Magic with Steph Curry, and you have that tall presence, and then let your imagination run amok.
Now, quick question for you.
Yeah.
If you put Magic with on that Warriors team, and Steph's playing the 1 and Clay's locked up at the 2, and even if you leave Draymond at the 4, where do you put Magic? Small forward or center?
Small forward or center. You know what? I'd put him in the pivot. And I'll tell you why I would do that. Because when Kareem went down with that injury and Magic single-handedly beat the 76ers in the pivot, why not put him there? Magic is not no normal bird. If he's 6'9" in the pivot, with his intelligence and his ability to move around and be a distributor, shooter, and his basketball presence, I personally put him in the pivot.
It's not a bad look. It's not a bad look because if you think about it, with that scheme, you're still in the Warrior small ball scheme. Like they're not known for size; they're running gun. So with Magic, the only thing about it is Magic is pretty much going to be a distributing 5.
But Magic knew when to put the ball in the hole when he had to.
Of course.
Most unselfish ball player I have ever seen. And what people don't understand is that his basketball IQ is higher. Remember, he played under Judd Heathcote, back in 1979, and he's been around Tom Izzo forever. But Judd Heathcote was a heck of a coach, and most people don't even know about the guy.
Oh, I know about Heathcote, yes.
Well, you do, but most everybody else in this generation, Jacob, don't know about him.
Yeah.
And what I know, but no, I personally would put him in the pivot. But Isaiah with LeBron would be a very intriguing possibility. Because you know what? Isaiah wouldn't put up with LeBron's drama. Isaiah was a straight shooter. When they brought in Mark Aguirre from Dallas, a very controversial trade when they shipped Adrian Dantley out, they brought in his best friend in Chicago, and Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Rick Mahorn and the rest of them, put him in his place. This is how we do things here, and that's it. Isaiah's the type of guy that's a no-nonsense guy and won't tolerate it. His presence in the locker room, to me, is like no other because he may be 6 foot, whatever, 1, 2, or whatever. His brain is like 10 feet tall.
Here's another. Oh, I'm sorry.
Business. That's all right.
Oh, yeah. Here's another. Dwight Howard, 2009 with the Lakers instead of against them.
Him
Yeah.
and Pau Gasol together. Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. Because all I'm thinking about is number one, you can spell Shaq more. You could spell him more. You also have this was at a time Shaq was getting older. He mentored a little bit more. He was a little older. You have that, and then you've got your new big man. Shaq can probably retire quicker than he did. You know, you have situations like that instead of going to Phoenix and then Boston and all that stuff. He could have gone off with one more ring. You have one more ring, maybe 2. You know what I'm saying? Just little ideas like that. And you know, it's those are the things I think about all the time. It's like Dwight Howard was something special for a minute. And then it's just like, I don't know if he got lazy or what happened or if he got cocky, but he just never even, every once in a while you'll see that 30 rebound game.
You couldn't handle
every once in a while, but then next game is 6 points, 2 rebounds.
Could never handle coaching. That was his biggest problem. Every coach that tried to coach him up, Dwight Howard, to me, is just one of those guys who's a freakish athlete, just can handle authority and coaching. That's all.
Well, Stan Van Gundy's not exactly the most wonderful coach.
No, but you know what, though? All we know about Stan Van Gundy in Detroit, and he got run on to New Orleans, he wasn't a big easy. They were looking to get rid of him big quickly. But no, I mean, but he still couldn't handle coaching. Because he got run, he's been so many places, a lot of coaches couldn't put up, not just Stan Van Gundy. And I'm the biggest critic of Stan Van Gundy anyhow, because of the way he orchestrated that trade of Blake Griffin to Detroit and messed up their salary cap for ages for nothing. But that's a topic for another day.
Here's one for everybody. What do you think of Dwayne Wade on the 86 Celtics?
I like that.
He'd be a backup.
So you wouldn't start?
It was gonna be. I mean, you got to realize the Hall of Famer Bill Walton is a 6th man. They had so much. Kevin McHale was the black hole. I mean, you get that in there and it's over. Robert Parrish. It's unless you put him Ainge's spot.
Yes.
Okay, and Ainge could shoot like hell.
So can Wade.
Yeah. Yes. It's like that. I'm just saying, Wade. That's a possibility, mind you. But here's the thing. Also, let's just put him with the Lakers. Would he replace Byron Scott?
Ooh.
Yeah, but if I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Dennis Johnson on that 86 team too?
Yeah,
he ran point.
That's why I said
but he's
replacing DJ.
But his defense is unbelievable, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's room because DJ ran point and D Wade's a 2 guard. Yeah. So even though that backcourt would be kind of sick, though.
There wouldn't be. But I'm just saying, though, that just shows you how much the Celtics had. You could say, okay, we could go put D Wade, but it's nothing bad to have Danny Ainge either.
No, of course, there's nothing bad. You know, it's just you look at what D Wade brings. I mean, you're talking about because Ainge was a shooter, Wade was a scorer. Right. You know. Now, here's the thing: is Wade always had been a ball dominant player? How is that going to work out with Larry Bird?
I don't think it'd be a problem.
Here's a big thing. Depends on the generation. 86, maybe not. 1 year after, with everybody's busted up, with his back starting to go, probably he would have had lead bias.
Right.
Yeah.
He'd had lead bias, and he'd been more than happy to get 12 assists a game to give lead bias point. He'd probably been a 16-10-10 guy.
Yeah.
Bird would have been. Yeah, because he would have let Bias get all the 40 points.
Yeah, pretty much. And then so when you throw Wade in there, who could probably average 25 on that team, you know, And so it wouldn't be a bad idea if because Bird's he's gonna be running the offense anyway. You figure, right? So if he wants to play distributor that game, and you said it, he has no problem getting 10 dimes a game. Cool.
Yeah.
Pass it away.
Oh no, and no, you're correct on that, but that just shows the power of that team. We're making that debate based off that. It's not like, oh my, well, of course the reason I bring up with the Dwayne Ways, I bring up the skill. The skill does the idea of our debates is the fact that what about their athleticism of the time? No, we're not bringing that. We're not bringing that thing in there whatsoever because it'd be a little different. Even Jordan got the most athletic in truth once the training really went up. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's like he did some awesome things, but it's like, could you imagine Michael Jordan now with his athletic training? But no, the thing is, you have to realize. Are we looking at skill or are we looking at athleticism? Because Dwayne Wade wouldn't be as athletic in 86. But if we're looking at skill, yes, because he was skilled as all get out. But it's like that just shows the power of that team.
Right.
Well, let's go ahead and go to our next topic. We're at the 36-minute mark. And that is, let's do our Basketbros What If. Our weekly Basketbros What If. So, ML Carr attempted to get Michael Jordan to come out of retirement. What if Michael Jordan returned to basketball for the Boston Celtics in 1994? Will, kick us off.
So in 1994, I'm pretty sure Dominique was still with the Celtics at that point.
Yeah.
I think they could have been a lesser version of Batman and Robin. Because it wasn't prime Neek, but I think they still would have been contending, but they still would have ran into those tough teams in the 90s. If they would have made the finals, you would have had to play the Jazz still, then the Blazers, the Lakers. It makes you think, but it would have definitely been really interesting. I just don't. I still think he'd lead the team in scoring, but I could see him and Wilkins kind of working together, but Wilkins' point value would have to kind of go down quite a bit.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from because the way I'm looking at it is like, who was on that Celtic squad at the time period? What, D. Brown, Dino Raja, Eric Montross, you know? He's got a serviceable big man, maybe. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Don't get me wrong. Like when Jordan returned to basketball for the Bulls, he was averaging 32 points, 32.5 to be exact, points per game in the playoffs. But he still ran into Orlando Magic. I think it's the same thing. He runs into, even if he makes the playoff team, he run into Orlando.
I don't think he wins a ring.
No, I don't either. Go ahead, Jacob.
My big thing right now, for one deal, those 94 Celtics teams had trash bench. Had an absolutely trash bench. So, yeah, no. He would have been playing, it would have been the 86 Bulls all over again. Like the 85, 86 Bulls, where they had Granny Waiters, when they had Kyle Macy, when they had, you had Charles Oakley, but that's
Oak,
you had Oak, but that's about, but Oak was basically used as a bodyguard at that point. Yeah.
But who's better, him or Eric Montross?
Oh, God. Oh, God. But no, the only thing I know about Eric Montross is he got punched by Shaq like 3 or 4 different times.
He did. And I'm sorry, Will, I'm talking about one of your Tar Heels, but, you know, like.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'd take Shaq over Eric Montross any day of the week.
But the issue, I think if he would have gone on those Celtics teams, I think he would have retired earlier. Because he would have retired earlier because he would, for one thing, he always shot well in the Boston Garden, so he would have been given ridiculous minutes.
Yeah,
he would have been given ridiculous minutes. But another thing, he and Neek would have had problems because both of them are. I mean, Neek does not distribute a thing. Jordan does, but then the minute Neek misses something, he won't give it up. So those two would have a problem. Number 3, even if those two get along, they don't have anybody else. They just don't.
No, they don't.
That's why I told that guy. Denzel, it would just be a Batman and Robin thing, basically.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. D Brown also was most successful when he had a distributor, be it a point guard or Bird. He was most successful on that. The minute he's waiting for a ball and have to go for rebounds, and he's not a rebounder.
Nope.
It's like that becomes an issue. So that would be a hard chemistry game. That would be hard to really build chemistry on there. And plus, you want to know another thing. Like I said, he retired earlier. The reason I think, truthfully, that they were going to go after Michael Jordan is because they knew the Fleet Center was getting built. They wanted a face. They wanted a face, and the two faces with Dominique to introduce that new stadium.
Yeah, and it would have been known as the house that Jordan built. So but one more question before we swing it to Scott. Do they still make the playoffs? And if they do, what's their seed?
Oh, it's 7-8. I mean,
7,
which Jordan would have put up.
They get
7-8.
Don't even make it fun. I agree.
Yeah. And that's one of the see. You got to realize one of the issues. There's no way that Celtics team gets by the Orlando. No, they're not getting by the Knicks. They're those overall teams. I mean, those Knicks teams. They were just unlucky, but they had some loaded players. They had some loaded teams, and it's like I said, you have Jordan and Dominique basically versus those loaded teams.
If we're talking about the East, I'll even go as far as saying I doubt they get past Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Sure. No. Charlotte's biggest problem for that 92, 93, 94, 5. Their biggest issue was just the fact that there was some other teams, there was other teams. But I'm saying if they would have gotten a couple more teams, they would have been a serious threat. No, those Charlotte teams would have killed them.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Scott, over to you. Your thoughts on this?
I think it'd be fun to watch. I mean, the only problem is the basketball net would not be big enough with all those balls going back and forth. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
When it rains, it pours, and when those guys shoot balls, it pours. It would almost be like the hypothetical of putting Pete Maravich in that group too. You're gonna be a guy like Pete Maravich taking shots from way downtown, or wherever. So I think it'd be fun to watch. I don't think that, to me, 6-8 seemed to be generous in the playoffs.
Generous.
I mean, generous. Okay.
Yeah, 46 wins.
Right. Exactly. So I think it's always interesting to watch. I think the one thing that people tend to forget, though, is while we use these hypotheticals about Jordan and Dominique, let's not lose sight of the fact that you have the dream team and you have all these great players assembled together. So these hypotheticals that we're throwing out here on Basketbros aren't so many hypotheticals when you're dealing with these dream teams as well, where you're accustomed to having a million shooters together. And is there enough basketballs for each and every one of these guys to put in 40 or 50 points? The original dream team, I don't know if you guys remember this, Jacob, maybe you will, but I remember they were rolling over opponents by 80 to 100 points.
Dude, I was 14 years old.
Same here. I remember.
I was 14 years old, and I remembered stuff at 6.
Right, and you know what? And these teams are asking for autographs. We're crying out loud. But I guess to answer your question, I think it'd be fun to watch. I really do.
Well, here's a big issue that we've got also. ML Carr, you're comparing Phil Jackson to ML Carr. That's number one.
Right.
ML Carr was more of a business owner than he was a coach. He was an entrepreneur, 6 ways from loose, and he's a great entrepreneur.
If you think about it, it makes perfect sense why he went after Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Because Michael Jordan is good for business.
Yep.
He had the Jordan brand, he had Gatorade, he had McDonald's, and so now to have him on the team, absolutely it was a business move.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Did you know that ML Carr played for the Pistons before he went to Boston?
I think so.
I vaguely remember, yeah.
I do. I was there. That's why I threw it out there. He played for the Pistons before he went to Boston. We all know what he did.
But here's another big issue you're going to find is Jordan would not have been able to get, we would not have been able to get stars to Boston because there's still to this day the issue of racism in Boston.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah. And there is not even Jordan can overcome that trying to get people there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's just true. See, Jordan was here. This is the truth. We brought this up with baseball. It's like when people want to say when like the baseball team wants to say we're not racist, we're getting Dusty Baker. When the NFL wants to say we're not racist, we get Lovey.
Mm-hmm.
When we're not racist, let's get Michael Jordan. That is it. I mean, Michael's the all-time great, mind you. But that's exactly what that is.
Right.
That's exactly what that is. Boston would absolutely get because he's the name, the star, the everything. But you can't go at. I mean, they couldn't have gotten a Patrick Ewing to go and do that. They couldn't have gotten any of those. Not in Boston. They couldn't get all that. There was. I mean, Bob McAdoo was there like for 14 games, and he said, "No way."
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Well, this is good enough time to remind everyone that we are sponsored by the Score No Score app on Google Play and the App Store. It's a really amazing app. Just real quick to run it down, you actually bet on plays. So you get a set amount of coins, it's like 400 or something like that. And like, for example, you got the Bengals and the Ravens tonight. So you can bet on if Lamar Jackson's going to score a touchdown, if Joe Burrow's going to throw a touchdown, if Joe Mixon is going to get 100 yards rushing, is not Hollywood Brown, is Mark Andrews going to score on the next play. It's really great. And it also has baseball as well. The game 3 of the wild card series between the Mets and the Padres are on right now. So you can bet on, is such and such going to hit a home run and whatnot, but you bet on plays. It's really great. It's at the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It is the Score No Score app. And let's transition into our next topic, and that's revisiting a Basketbros moment in time. 1996, rookie Allen Iverson crosses over Michael Jordan. To the basketball world and the fans alike, this was Superman getting punched in the face. It was that serious. Now, granted, Mike still had 35 and the Bulls still won. But whenever you have an all-time great and considered the greatest, as in Michael Jordan, you tend to think like at that time period, well, the man doesn't have a weakness. Like what's going on? How could he get crossed over? Is he getting old or what's going on? But it actually served as a precursor to who Allen Iverson would become, the trendsetter that he was, the player that he was. The man was a walking fashion statement at one point in time. He was multi-talented. The man could rap. He could play ball, But it was a testament to who he would become. So I'll swing it over to Will. Your thoughts about this moment when Allen Iverson crossed over Michael Jordan?
Man, I was 2, but I've seen the clip thousands on thousands of times. It's one of my favorite NBA clips. I love both players, but the funny thing is, Michael Jordan, as we all know, was no slouch defender. MJ was a notorious defender. He will smack talk you. He will talk bad about anything just to get into your head. I'm surprised Iverson didn't take any. Iverson must have had like a brick wall in his brain saying, you're not passing through here. But no, that clip is one of the most notorious things because, like you said, it's like Superman getting punched in the face. Superman's kryptonite. Like, we thought, this guy can't be broken down. He barely gets hurt. No way someone can cross him up or get by him because of his smack talk. Well, Iverson did. And this is rookie Iverson. And this guy has this is before he was known as one of the best ball handlers of all time. Don't get me wrong, he had great handles. But now he's in the conversation of greatest handles of all time with a bunch of other players. And just one iconic moment. Definitely one that will forever be imprinted in NBA history.
Yeah. So before you go, Jacob, and give your thoughts about this moment, just a quick hypothetical question for you. Mm-hmm. Prime AI versus Prime Mike. Ooh. Mike's guarding them the whole game. How many points does AI score, regardless of who wins the game?
Oh, it's Prime AI because you got to realize AI was the only 700. They said this. 794 players played against Michael Jordan. Only AI outscored him. So it would be AI because it was like 28. It was like 28.1 to 24.8. But so
you think AI scores about what 25, 27 points?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing, Will. Wasn't, and I'm asking this to everybody, wasn't the AI from Newport News, Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that area is way tougher. And see, this would be answered if Michael stayed in Brooklyn where he was born. This would be different. This would be way different. But Michael was a North Carolina guy basically in the suburbs. You know, the mom and dad worked very hard to get there, but he was not from that. Now, if it was from Brooklyn, then would he probably be AI himself?
And could I put out a
Sure.
thing real quick,
Yeah.
Jacob, if you don't mind?
Mm-hmm.
AI was arrested in college for a bowling incident.
I know.
Wasn't he?
Right.
I know.
So, and John Thompson was the one who said, I'm going to mold you into a man. I'm tired of this BS. I'm going to turn you around from a convict to a great guy.
Right.
And even Allen Iverson's Hall of Fame speech, if I'm not wrong, he was mentioning John Thompson a lot and started crying because he said, I'm pretty sure he quoted this, John Thompson saved my life. I would have been dead.
John Thompson ran off a main drug dealer.
Yeah. And guess what? He said,
6'11",
John Thompson saved my life. I would have been dead.
Well, I am so glad you brought that up. I really, really am. I mean, first of all, Iverson is a streetwise kid that became a great basketball player because he had a father figure that believed in him. And that's the thing that people tend to forget. Now, and again, when Larry Brown entered the picture, Allen Iverson was past the practice routine because he had learned enough on his own through trial and error anyways, and he's just a heck of a player to begin with.
John Thompson, you got to realize something. John Thompson's 6'10".
Right.
He was huge.
He was kingpin.
Oh, yeah.
John Thompson was kingpin of the real life kingpin. He was no nonsense. And it's like you could believe he'd throw his players through a door without opening it.
Exactly.
You can believe it. So, and it's like, and I'm just saying, he sounded so quiet too, but that was a very intimidating looking dude. It's like, but no, this is the thing though. Michael was born in Brooklyn, MJ. He was born in Brooklyn. What happens if he stays there? I mean, look at
he grows up in a tough neighborhood.
Oh yeah, he grows up in a tough neighborhood. He was still been close with his dad and mom, mind you, and everything like that. But he would have been in a tougher neighborhood. He would have been in the same boat. But it's like MJ was in a suburb,
right?
And so it's like no, Michael Jordan's trash talk was not going to get into Allen Iverson's head because they had tougher people that was getting into his head.
Worse has been said to Allen Iverson.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing. It's like this is just truth. This is just truth on anything. It's your culture you're built with, where you're from. You know, it's like
you're part of your environment.
The only things I can say this: the thing that made MJ the greatest of all time, and I'm saying this, it's because he was an overly, ridiculously competitive, almost a sociopathic.
Oh, he drove himself insane by saying, "Oh, he smack talked me. I'm gonna beat him up,
right?
Beat him." Like I remember, I forgot who it was in the Last Dance. They brought up Reinsdorf. I think it was Reinsdorf or the other guy. I forgot what his name. Who?
Jerry Krause. Right?
Krause liked one of the Phoenix players, and he said, "Oh, you like one of those guys? I'm gonna drop 45 plus on him."
Yeah.
Oh no, but these were
he took everything to heart.
If I could say Bird was really competitive, he was. And Isaiah really competitive, he was. Yeah. MJ's sociopath. Sociopathic.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's by his design. Could you imagine you put him in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Growing up.
Very true.
And it's like, and see, that's the thing. It's the culture. That's the thing. It's the culture you're built. It is the culture you're built and everything. But at the same time, another thing you ask about Michael and the thing. If he was from Brooklyn in the era that we were in, would he have gotten to be able to be the all-time great with Nike and done all that kind of stuff like that? Would they have called and considered him a street kid?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you've got to remember David Thompson. David Thompson, he could jump out of the building. Remember that, Scott? He could jump completely out of the building. They considered him. They thought him as a street kid. It's like, and then he had cocaine, and then that just brought the deal. It's like I said, would Nike have done the same? I think Nike went for Michael because he was a suburbs kid.
Right. Yeah, probably so. Well, I got to swing it over to Scott and get his thoughts on this real quick, and then we got to wrap up. So, Scott, your thoughts on this?
All right. Well, number one, Allen Iverson wasn't afraid to drive the hole and get pounded by everybody on the planet. And every time you turn up, he kept falling down and getting back up like Rocky 15 rounds. So that was the kind of a player that he is. So for him to cross over Michael Jordan, he didn't care. Allen Iverson was ultra competitive too. And I actually had a chance to meet him a few times and talk to him as well back in my days. Oh, yeah, he's a good kid. He really is. He's been through the rigors, this guy. He really has. But he's one what few people don't realize about Allen Iverson that I was able to find out when I was talking to the guy is as ultra competitive as he is. Okay. And he's a soft kid at heart. He really is. But you put anybody on that basketball court, take the softness out, let alone like Will alluded to moments ago about Thompson. You got the heart of a lion in a 6-foot body like this. It's just a shame he never did win a championship. In fact, the Pistons thought so much of him that they traded Chauncey Billups of the Nuggets for Iverson, and yet Joe Dumars never liked to have a bona fide superstar, but he saw enough of Iverson to do it. Now, that move backfired, and the Pistons haven't been the same since, but that's what Joe Dumars thought of him, is really. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he would cross over Jordan, but the fact is he drive to the hole all day long, and no matter how badly he punished this guy ended up getting, he still kept coming back for more and more.
Imagine AI at 6'6".
What's that?
Imagine
is he as fast?
Yeah.
Is he as fast?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, he's definitely beasting. I mean, AI is the funny part is that will put him at shooting guard, but his whole career he was a 1 guard masquerading as a 2. So I really don't think it makes a difference. Yeah. I don't think it makes much of a difference. He's just 7 inches taller. That's it. Same play style. Ball dominant, straight score. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Will brought up the John Thompson molding this kid from a convict into a player. Well, I think that if I ever had a segment called the comment of the night, Will, that would definitely be the one that stood out that you were able to bring that.
Yeah, and I love AI. Denzel's seen my shirt, Legends of the Hall AI. That's like one of my favorite T-shirts of all time.
Well, we are at the end of the show, so we do have to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for leaving likes and comments as well, and for tuning into the program. And Will, let us know where everyone can find you at.
Well, Monday nights during the season, you can find me on the NBA Carousel. Tuesday, Wednesday, it fluctuates from week to week. I'm on shows with Scott. Thursdays, I am on the sip-off. They're taking a little break. Fridays, I will be back on the gauntlet again eventually. Sundays here. And the fun thing about next Sunday's show is 2 days after that is my birthday. So
it'll be a special birthday episode. Will is turning 22. Congratulations.
Yeah, not really.
Jacob, where can everybody find you, man?
I wish.
Sunday nights here with everybody. Working on a Monday night thing for a doubleheader, but I am on the starting in January again, I believe. It's the Megan Price's NBA Carousel. I'll be on that. Tuesday nights during the season's confidential, but going to be working on a thing. I'm working on a new show, so I'll let you guys know about that. Wednesday nights, doubleheader with Scott, by the way. The Pundit's Pundit and the Sports Exchange. And Thursday nights a little different. I'm away from Sideline Sports. I do my own thing. It's called Yin and Yang with TJ Sanson. We're also working a movie together. We talk about things with film. We talk about psychology, politics. We talk about all kinds of different deals. So it's pretty good. And then every once in a while, I get a guest spot on the Gauntlet. So it's fun. So I have I stay busy here.
Mm-hmm. And Scott, where can everyone find you?
Well, you know what? Just subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. I got 1 million shows on there, and then you can find them all there. And on Twitter at Tribune South. Now, it's great to be able to have the opportunity to work with Will, Jacob, JB, Jen, Denzel. I'm waiting to get you on one of these days. We're going to make it happen. I promise you that. Jordan as well. and the rest of the crew at Sideline. You know, I love being here on Sunday with you guys. And of course, I take a lot of pride in the doubleheader that we have on Wednesday night, beginning with Pundit Spun It, capping it off with the Sports Exchange afterwards. But I have shows all over the week, so it's hard to really pinpoint. It's easier to pinpoint the people than it is the shows. And I'm proud to be a part of this one every Sunday, and as well as with you on Wednesday, Jacob. And don't worry, Will, I'm working on ways to get you into rotation too, pal. Keep the faith. I love bringing you on. You're a great kid.
Thank you, sir.
And everyone, the Mets are 4 innings away from being eliminated. They're down 4-0.
Oh, wow. Well, that wraps up. That concludes Basketbros. So thank everybody for tuning in. For DJ Willie V, Jacob Christner, and Scott Morgenroth, I'm Denzel Snipes. We got a Heisman Trophy quarterback winning battle on Sunday Night Football. Go tune in that, and most definitely tune in to Sideline Sports. Later, y'all.
Yep.